I wasn't supposed to be here. By the rules of the galaxy, humans were irrelevant on Vaeloria, a glittering planet of crystal cities and shimmering skies, where the elite Krynthar nobles ruled with inherited authority and near-absolute power. Their children were expected to be perfect, genetically engineered, socially refined. Anything less was considered a burden, a failure to be hidden from public view. And yet, here I was, standing in the misted corridors of the noble archives, staring down at a child who had been abandoned by the very being meant to protect them. Their father. My name is Jonas Calder, a freelance engineer and occasional crisis responder. I had come to Vaeloria on a maintenance contract to repair energy conduits in the upper spires. I had no intention of stepping into politics, family drama, or the messy affairs of alien nobility. But fate, as it often does, had other plans. I first encountered the child in the Shadow Wing, a hidden district of the noble complex where failed heirs were quietly housed. The guards hesitated when I approached. "You are human," one of them said, astonished. "You cannot enter here." "I don't care," I replied, my voice steady. "I was sent to repair the energy nodes in this wing. That's all I'm here for." The guard looked uneasy but stepped aside. What I found inside was beyond my expectation. A small figure crouched in a corner, wrapped in a thin silvery blanket. Their skin shimmered faintly in the dim light, the iridescence a trait common among Krynthar youth. Their eyes, however, were different. Human curiosity reflected in a golden hue that spoke of longing and fear. "Hello," I said softly, kneeling at the edge of their space. "My name is Jonas. I'm just here to fix some systems. That's it. I'm not going to hurt you." The child flinched but didn't run. Their voice, timid and barely audible, whispered, he said, "I'm broken." I learned soon after that he was Lord Veyran Krynthar, one of the most influential nobles in Vaeloria. His reputation was one of brilliance tempered by ruthlessness. His children were either heralded as paragons of Krynthar excellence or quietly removed from public view. The child before me, however, had been deemed unacceptable, a defect in their genetic profile, minor in the grand scheme of noble perfection but catastrophic in the father's eyes. "And he just left you here?" I asked, heart tightening as I crouched beside them. "Yes," the child whispered, tears glinting in their iridescent eyes. "No one cares." I didn't know what to say. Humans weren't supposed to intervene in alien politics, but something inside me, a combination of empathy and indignation, refused to leave. "You're not alone," I said firmly. "I'll make sure of that." The next days were a delicate balance of subterfuge and care. I repaired energy nodes in the Shadow Wing, ostensibly working for the noble infrastructure but quietly ensuring the child's safety. I brought them food, blankets, and stories about Earth, the planets, and humanity's quirks. Slowly, trust grew. But word traveled fast in noble circles, and secrecy was tenuous at best. Lord Veyran discovered my involvement within a week. The confrontation was expected, yet somehow nothing could have prepared me for it. "You dare interfere." Veyran's voice was a low, resonant rumble that made the air itself seem tense. He entered the Shadow Wing with guards, his tall, commanding presence casting long shadows. "This is none of your concern, human. Step aside." "I can't do that," I said, standing my ground. "You abandoned this child. You left them vulnerable. I won't leave them here to suffer." Veyran's eyes, gold and cold, studied me like a predator inspecting an intruder. "You do not understand our laws. This child is imperfect. They are not fit to inherit, not fit to survive under our customs. Interfering is dangerous, for you and them." I understand enough, I said. I understand that leaving them here alone is cruel. 4 hours, Veyran debated, threatened, and demanded. I refused to yield. The child watched silently, absorbing every word, the tension palpable. Then Veyran paused. Something in my voice, or perhaps my unwavering stance, caught his attention. You truly care? He asked finally, almost disbelieving. I do, I replied simply. Not because you don't, but because someone has to. There was a long silence. Guards shifted uneasily, and the child's breathing slowed as if sensing the fragile ceasefire forming. Veyran turned and left, muttering that intervention would not go unnoticed in higher councils, but he did not take the child. It was a small victory, but it was ours. Over the next several months, I became the child's guardian in secret. I trained them in engineering, taught them human problem-solving techniques, and instilled confidence that had been crushed by years of neglect. The child flourished under attention and care, showing creativity, intelligence, and resilience beyond what Veyran had anticipated. As our bond grew, I realized that this was more than mentorship. This was parenthood in the purest sense. The child looked to me for guidance, for protection, and eventually, for understanding of a galaxy that had seemed cruel and indifferent. But the political ramifications of my involvement could not remain hidden. Other nobles discovered my role, and soon I was summoned to the Council of High Nobles. It was a chamber of marble and crystal, filled with beings whose gazes alone could intimidate. You have interfered, one matron said, voice like ice. A human has no right to decide the fate of a noble child. I don't wish to decide their fate, I replied. I only wish to ensure they survive, learn, and grow. Isn't that what every parent hopes to do? A murmur spread across the council. Some nobles frowned, others whispered, but a few eyes softened. Veyran, present but silent, finally spoke. Perhaps I misjudged. Perhaps the child deserves more than my standards dictate. After extensive debate, the council made a historic decision. By formal decree, the child would remain under my guardianship, recognized as a special case where human intervention was sanctioned for welfare and education. Veyran could not object without risking scandal, and I gained official authority to act as the child's protector and mentor. It was unprecedented. No human had ever been entrusted with the upbringing of a Krynthar noble child. My role was dangerous, politically charged, and fraught with expectation, but it was also profoundly meaningful. Years passed. The child, whom I now called Veyran, grew into a brilliant young adult, blending Krynthar intellect and human ingenuity. Together, we navigated the complexities of court politics, science, and diplomacy. Veyran's unique perspective, raised by a human among alien culture, allowed them to mediate conflicts, innovate solutions, and inspire others in ways that no purely Krynthar noble could. Veyran, initially distant and cold, gradually reconciled with the arrangement. While he never fully expressed pride or affection, he acknowledged the child's accomplishments and the role I had played. That silent approval meant more than words. Eventually, Veyran stepped into the public sphere, not as a broken child, but as a symbol of resilience, adaptation, and cross-species cooperation. They championed policies that embraced diversity, innovation, and compassion, forever altering the rigid structures of Krynthar society. I watched them, proud and humbled, as they addressed the High Council one final time before leading a new initiative for interstellar collaboration. Veyran turned toward me, eyes shimmering with gratitude. Thank you, they said softly, for believing in me when no one else would. I smiled, feeling the weight of years, struggles, and quiet victories settle comfortably. No, I replied. Thank you for teaching me that family is more than bloodlines. It's care, choice, and trust. As the Krynthar elite and citizens alike celebrated the dawn of a new era, I realized something profound. Being human on an alien world had not made me powerful. It had made me responsible. And in responsibility I had found purpose. The child once abandoned had become a beacon, not only for Vaeloria but for the galaxy itself. And I, simply a human who had stepped in, was honored to have been their guardian. Sometimes the smallest acts of compassion ripple across the stars, changing more than one life. They change worlds. And on Vaeloria, the legacy of care and courage would echo for generations.